All right, we are on to the second page, number 9. I want to show you the first thing. With that, we just finished that last page knowing that if I had the short leg of the 30, 60, 90 times the square root of 3 will give me the long leg. That's what's shown here in red. Well, then you have to realize you're looking at that 10 square root of 3, that long leg, is actually the short leg of a different triangle. And so this ought to be fun. So what you have to do is you change your perspective. Now it's a short leg, and it's take that times the square root of 3 to get the long leg, the x that we're looking for in that second triangle. And so you'll see that square root of 3 in parentheses there. So this is a two-part problem. First, you take the long leg, or the short leg of the left triangle times the square root of 3, and to get its long leg. And then that becomes part of a larger triangle on the right, where it's a short leg now, and I take that times the square root of 3 to get me the long leg in that second 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, on to the next one. On the right, number 10, I start with a hypotenuse on that top triangle, and we know to divide it by 2 to get the short leg. Well, that short leg changes. Now, that short leg, I need to use it to get the long leg on that small triangle. So that little 4 is a short leg, and I'll take it times the square root of 3 to go ahead and get the long leg in that top triangle. Well, now if we shift to the bottom triangle, that little 4 square roots of 3 is not a long leg anymore. That's actually a short leg. And I double it to get the hypotenuse in that smaller triangle down below, or the larger triangle down below. So the role changes as you make your way into this. It's a repeat. You finish out one smaller triangle, and then you can use the pieces of that in a triangle next door to it that's adjacent to it. Again, the relationships are always the same in a 30, 60, 90. Hypotenuse, cut it in half, you get the short leg. Take the short leg times the square root of 3, and you get the long leg. You just have to say which triangle am I looking at in a given picture. These are combined 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay, next one. So we're on to number 11. We have a long leg that's given. So each time you're given one side, you have to identify what it is in a single triangle. You know that you take that divided by the square root of 3 to get the short leg. Okay, so I have that in black. So it's 5 divided by the square root of 3. And so you'll see the actual work is in black there. The red and blue and yellow and eventually orange is all about just telling you where these values come from, and I'm applying a particular rule. Okay, so now what I'm dealing with is that side that I just got, 5 over the square root of 3, is actually the hypotenuse of that bottom triangle. Can you see that? Across from the 90. And I know to divide that by 2, so I know I get 2.5 over the square root of 3 instead of 5 over the square root of 3 for that short leg. And then guess what? That short leg we're going to use to find the long leg. And you multiply that by the square root of 3, and you'll see that in parentheses there. On to 12. So I've got a long leg, and I divide it by the square root of 3 for the short leg. And then that long leg is a long leg at a different triangle, and divided by the square root of 3 again for a different short leg. So that's a double whammy. So the long leg, 9 square roots of 6, divided by the square root of 3 to get its respective short leg, and then that short leg is a long leg on that upper right-hand triangle. So I divided by the square root of 3 again to get the short leg. So again, maybe pause, take a look at the work. I'm just saying, you have to understand I'm looking at the upper right-hand triangle. And if I know its long leg is 9 times the square root of 6 over the square root of 3, I divide it by the square root of 3 again to get that shorter leg. Wild. And I left it all in parentheses and separated out so you could just see the work. Okay, so that short leg, you double it to get the hypotenuse. And so I doubled the 9 that's in there and made it 18. That's all that's different between the short leg and the hypotenuse in that problem. Again, we'll learn how to simplify this later, but right now that's giving you an idea of the relationship. And then we go to 13. Get the hypotenuse, divide by 2 to get the short leg. And, of course, that short leg times the square root of 3 to get the long leg. And then we go ahead and take that. That's the hypotenuse now of the right-hand triangle. So I divide it by 2 for its short leg. And then times the square root of 3 a second time to give it the long leg in its respective triangle. Okay, so we cycle around onto 14. I've got a long leg. To divide by the square root of 3 for the short leg. And we, of course, double that for the hypotenuse. And that's in a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Now, I have a side of a 45, 45, 90. So this kind of wraps up going back to 45, 45, 90 now. A different rule applies. we're going to take and multiply that by the square root of 2 to get the hypotenuse. And that's it. This thing is filled in. So feel free to scan back and forth, see how you did. Send me an email, let me know how it went.